Hi everyone. Round 2 of Jake trying to do content. Uh, so here I am. And I wanted to go over people's drafts. Um, my not initial thoughts on them, but more of my in-depth thoughts on them. I'm gonna go a bit deeper than here's the type synergies, here's the Pokemon synergies, and like really figure out what works and what doesn't. Um, I'm also going to be rating everyone's draft from S to D, S being the highest. I'm going to go in order, uh, alphabetically by team name. Um, and I'll also be using this sheet as, a good resource of team stats. And whoa, we have all this matchups and stuff. That's crazy. How did we get this? How did all this work? What on? Okay, this is a cool sheet. I didn't know it had this much. Um, so, anyways, without further ado, let me take a sip of my Diet Dr. Pepper. And let's get the show on the road. So first off, Team Area 151, headed by Korok Corrosion. So I'm actually against this team in Week 1. At a glance, it is Entei, Grimmsnarl, Spectrier, Gyarados, Iron Crown, Garchomp, Pachirisu, Superior, Vikavolt, Stantler, and Darkspun. I like this team quite a bit. It has very, very heavy initial offense in Entei, Spectrier, Gyarados, Iron Crown, Garchomp. These are some Vikavolt. These are some pretty heavy hitting Pokemon, and a lot of them have great type synergy together. Primarily, I want to shout out Gyarados and Garchomp, with the Flying Intimidate and the Earthquake. These are a great pair together, and Garchomp hitting with Ground Stab into electric types is going to be great for Gyarados, which doesn't want to face those. Same with Rock. Vikavolt and Garchomp are another great combination with Vikavolt's Levitate. These two can easily Disc-Quake combo. Grimmsnarl is just a fantastic pick for this team. It has some good setup Pokemon. Dragon Dance Gyarados. I believe Calm Mind, Iron Crown, Swords Dance Garchomp. I don't believe Entei gets anything. Nasty Plot Spectrier. So having Grimmsnarl to bulk up for that setup, as well as Pachirisu to redirect any single target moves, is very, very good. Looking at typings, you have your great standard Fire, Water, Grass core here, and then you have your Fairy, Steel, Dragon right here. Those are your two common cores out of the way. I think the only type you might be missing on this team is a Rock type. I could be wrong, but just glancing at it, it looks like the only type that's missing is Rock type, and Rock types really aren't that important. It's an attacking type, not really anything else. It's missing Poison, which can help defensively, but eh. So overall, yeah, I like this team quite a bit. In terms of any super cool techs you might be missing, I think this team pretty much has what it wants to do spelled out on the table for it already. There's no auto terrain. There's no auto weather. This is just kind of your standard good stuffs team, either setup or just do heavy offense. These are great choice Pokemon. These are great setup Pokemon. These are great bulky support Pokemon. I like this team a lot, and I'm right off the bat going to give this our first A tier. I might adjust things later depending on how things go. Like, this is cusping S. I'm going to be honest. It's cusping S, and I don't say that lightly. Next team we're going to look at is my own. Yeah, I know I'm next in the order, okay? I am going to talk about my team. I'm not going to gas myself up too much, but I'm not going to, like, hide any secrets. I'm going to try to spill everything. So looking at my team, I think everyone recognized pretty quickly it's a balanced team, right? I have Incineroar, I have Rillaboom, two fake out users that can pivot. I have Volcarona, which can set up or redirect. I have Clefable, which is a good redirector. I have Incineroar, Rillaboom, and Blastoise, all with Fake Out. Um, and then I also have my Dragon, Steel, and Fairy Core, as well as Double Grass in Rillaboom and Chestnut, Fire, and Water. Like, they're all starters, actually. That's funny. Um, so yeah, I don't think I have much to hide here. Oricorio is one of the standout picks as like a lower pick. But if you know how Oricorio works with its Dancer ability, Volcarona with Quiver Dance and Fiery Dance can kind of snowball with Oricorio, making Oricorio use those moves as soon as Volcarona does. Um, and lesser known is that Komoo's Clanger's Soul also activates Oricorio's Dancer ability. So not one that's going to be as easy to use because of it taking a third of your health, but still one to definitely be careful of. Um, I went for a lot of setup and redirection. Having two redirectors in Volcarona and Clefable, having Blastoise with Shell Smash, Komoa with Iron Defense, Dragon Dance, Clangorous Soul, Swords Dance. Rillaboom can even Swords Dance. Incineroar can Swords Dance. Gengar can Nasty Plot. Volcarona can Quiver Dance. Or Oricorio can Quiver Dance. Um, I went with a lot of setup options to make my opponents have to play a game of which one of these is going to come and set up. Are any of them even going to set up? Because at a glance, yeah, they are big setup Pokemon, but these Pokemon can do heavy damage without having to set up. Gengar, Volcarona, no slouches. Rillaboom, no slouch. Incineroar, surprisingly, does good damage. Como can do some good damage. Metagross does amazing damage. Um, I think my rogue pick here is Rhydon. I personally really wanted a rock and ground type Pokemon, and I think for the price, Rhydon's very, very good in terms of stats, and with Eviolite boasting those even more, as well as having Lightning Rod to support the team if I face some really obnoxious electric spamming team and I want to run Blastoise. Um, I don't think I missed anything really. Oh, Chestnut can also Belly Drum. Komodo can also Belly Drum. So watch out for those guys. Um, but I think generally on my team, every Pokemon can do a bunch of things, except maybe Rhydon. You know, a lot of things can support, a lot of things can do offense, and that's what I went for. Um, I, I think I'm in S tier. I don't know. I'm biased. I'm never not gonna rank myself S tier. If I really didn't think I was S tier, um, I would be doing a lot more work outside of the draft. Sorry to be egotistical. Um, just gonna be honest. I don't sugarcoat. Well, I find it hard to. Next up is the Brattleboro Balloons. Sorry, Brattleboro Balloons, headed by Miss Elena Violet. Um, let's take a look here. I understand what the team's going for sure. Um, you have Murkrow for what I would assume is often Manual Rain. With Prankster, I believe it gets Rain Dance. I should check that just in case. Yes, of course it does. It gets Rain Dance, it gets Tailwind. It can haze away Basculegion's Intimidate drops. And set up for Archaladon and Basculegion, two Pokemon that work very, very well together. On top of that, you have two Intimidators in Torracat and Salamence, and I believe 1, 2, 3 Fake Out users in Archaladon, Hisuian Sneasel, and Monkey Dory. In terms of, Fire, Water, Grass, I think this is fine. I don't think Torracat really fits with the core just because it is a Torracat. But ultimately, the core is there. As for Steel Dragon Fairy, yeah, you have that kind of slotted into two Pokemon, which isn't my favorite. I like having my cores personally be across 3 different Pokemon, but this obviously works. Archaladon's a menace. Clefairy is such a good supportive Pokemon. I don't think any of these picks are really questionable. I think there are some great value picks from Elena here. Hisui and Sneasel being an inner focus fake out user, as well as, I mean, fighting poison typing is really, really strong offensively. Sneasel's not the best offensive tool. I think it has 95 base attack. I could be wrong. 95 base attack, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but its speed is really where it thrives. Again, I see where this team has its ideas, and it's going to be a tougher team to break. Salamence is a great tool with Intimidate and Setup and special sets, physical sets. Minior. Minior is a cool Pokemon for Shell Smash setup, although it can be very hard to run because you do need to get it in its... you do need to get it to 50% of its HP before it really gets its offensive stats boosted. So people could take advantage of that. I do think the one weakness of this team is that it has one main mode that's very easy to identify and isn't that difficult to get around. I don't mean that in the sense of like, oh, it's easy to play against Basculegion, Archaludon, Rain. No, I just mean that people can easily tech to handle those two options on their team. Like, if anyone has a Prankster user, they're going to be able to use Sunny Day. If anyone has a Weather user, they're going to be able to use Weather. Not super easy to play around, but something that's just easy to identify, and just being such a big identity of the team is something that might hurt Elena. I do think, again, this team has a lot of good immediate offense. Ogerpon can hit really hard, Monkey Dory can hit really hard, Salamence can hit really hard. Archaludon and Basculegion can, of course, hit really hard. Piloswine, I think, is a great pickup and adds some good priority to the team. 3 fake-out users is nothing to scoff at. That will be obnoxious and will demand people to be running Covert Cloak and Taunt for Clefairy. Like, I like this team. Going back to what I said about Dragon Steel Fairy before, I'm sure people are already annoyed with me. There is a dragon in Salamence and Archaludon and Clefairy. So technically they're separate, and it's not like Steel and Dragon impede upon one another by any means. I mean, it would be nice to have your Steel type resist Dragon, and that is the one shortcoming I will say. So for Elena, I am going to go B for Breloom. I do think this is a solid team, and I'm curious to see how she can pilot it more uniquely than it appears. Next up is Sharjosho and their divas. So right there, let's take a look-see. Alright. So let's go CJ. Definitely living up to their name. All of these Pokemon serve. Alolan Persian, Chinchino. These are some really fun Pokemon. And I'm not saying that because that's the only thing I have to say. These are strong Pokemon. Like with Elena's team, though, I will say this team is a bit one note in that it has something that it wants to do. It's going to do it well, but people are going to be able to play into that. Does it have options? Yeah, I think more options than would present themselves. Like, right, you have Mousehold and Annihilape. We all know what Mousehold and Annihilape are going to do. We all know what Indeedee Male and Delphox are going to do. We know what Gallade's there for. Right. However, Mousehold and Annihilape, especially in closed team sheet, which is where this is where I really want to discuss closed team sheet, because it changes a lot of how we're going to play. You see the Mousehold and Annihilape lead. Okay, what is my opponent going to do? Well, that's up to CJ and you to find out in, like, game 1, right? Is this Mousehold safety goggles or Covert Cloak and beating up the Annihilape on the side? Maybe. Is the Annihilape going to click Scarfed Final Gambit, take out your redirection Pokemon or whatever, what have you, and then have Mousehold go for a Wide Lens Terranormal Technician Population Bomb? I don't know, but I'm scared of it. I don't want to deal with that. That's obnoxious. Is the Delphox, like, is this Indeedee going to click Trick Room? Is the Gallade going to click Trick Room? Or is it going to be a fast variant? Like, I think this team can do quite a few things that aren't as apparent. Um, is there, yeah, Mousehold is redirection. Alolan Persian is a great fake out user and parting shot user, and Fur Coat buffs it up quite a bit. Um, although Indeedee Male, not the most wanting of a fake out user, but that's up to CJ to pilot properly. As well as the fact that Indeedee doesn't have to run Psychic Terrain, and it can get fake out itself and not have to worry about terrain. Because it's just faking out, and it's running a different ability. Charjabug is a neat little option. I know what it does in terms of battery, just existing on the field, but outside of that, I don't know what else it gets, and I'm not going to look until I need to in Week 5. Torkoal as well, with this solid, easy Trick Room setup, Torkoal is the truth. This team can be fast. This team could be slow. I do wish that they got a Tailwind user on their team. I don't believe that they have one. I don't believe Enamorus gets it, because not all the genies do. In fact, only one genie does. But they do have the option of like Icy Wind with Alolan Persian. That might be it. And I do kind of wish Mousehold had... I think a second piece of redirection on this team would have gone a long way. So maybe dropping Charjabug for something. But ultimately, it's gonna make Indeedee hit harder, Delphox hit harder, Torkoal hit harder, right? I don't think this team has the immediate offense that, like, Area 51 does. But this is certainly a big team that you're going to have to respect what's coming into you each week and get leads right and all that. I think this team is completely dependent on how CJ plays it. And how people are going to counter it. I mean, that sounds stupid to say, but like, very much CJ is going to be in control of how the battles go, just based on the fact that they can build exactly how they want to get tricky. Also, shout out Chinchino, one of my top 3 favorite Pokemon. I kind of wanted to draft it. Chinchino has quite a few moves. It can hit decently hard. Also, it's really cute. I wish it could hit harder. For CJ, I'm going to go not C for Sharjosho, but yeah, solid B. Solid B to me. That is a team that's going to be a pain in the butt for a lot of people. Next up is the Good Guy Gudras, led by a blog. So, I'm going to be honest. This team confuses me a lot. I don't get it. I don't quite get it. I don't see a lot of synergies. You know, I see Scizor as a steel type, Galarian Weezing as a fairy type, and Baxcalibur as a dragon type is very strong. And then your Fire, Water, Grass is Iron Moth, Toedscruel, Politoed. Politoed is a Pokemon that you do have. You don't have any Rain Abusers. You don't have any Swift Swimmers here. The thing that you do have, though, is Scizor and Sinistcha, which don't want to be taking fire attacks, having those mitigated. As well as just disrupting other people's weather. Again, I don't fully understand this team. What I will shout, though, is Iron Hands and Sinistcha. These two Pokemon I love running together. I think these Pokemon together are just incredible. Also, these are the wrong stats for Sinistcha. That looks like Poltergeist. These are the wrong stats. I just want to shout that out. Sinistcha and Iron Hands are so good together. Being able to have a Fake Out user and a Trick Room user, and a Trick Room user that can heal and, like, redirect, like, Sinistcha is a very, very good Pokemon. Um, Galarian Weezing can also sit next to Sinistcha, and I mean, Sinistcha effectively has no ability while it's just sitting on the field. Same with Iron Hen, same with Iron Moth, same with Iron Jugulus. And Toedscruel doesn't usually want to have an ability. Um, so this is a team that doesn't usually mind having its ability shut off. Scizor definitely wants it. Weirdeer wants it when it hits the field, but it can also anything on this team can ability shield. And Politoed obviously wants its rain. Baxcalibur would love not being burnt. Um, Overall, I do see where this team can thrive. Iron Jugulus Tailwind as well as Hurricane with Politoed. I think Iron Moth might get Hurricane. Don't quote me on that. My issue is really in the cores. I don't think the cores are strong enough. Toedscruel doesn't act as a grass type to me. Um, it doesn't resist water. That's the big thing. Um, Iron Moth doesn't do much as a fire type for me, right? It gets fire moves, but its poison typing is just a thorn in its side. It makes it better into um, fairy types by double resisting them and being able to do super effective damage. But the big issue is your move options are like Acid Spray and Sludge Wave. And of course, Terra Poison, Terra Blast. I just am not a big Iron Moth fan. I think Baxcalibur's excellent. Um, Weirdeer as an Intimidate Trick Rumor that it can be faked out, I believe. I don't think it gets Inner Focus. I see Normal Psychic and immediately my brain goes to Oranguru, even though it probably should go to Indeedee these days. Um, Overall, I like these Pokemon quite a bit on their own, most of them. Um, but I don't see the vision of the whole team here. Um, Maybe I will be proven wrong, but I just don't see the immediate synergies that a lot of other teams have so far. Um, so right away, I just have to go D tier here. I don't get this team. Uh, I think the man for the job to get this team out of D tier is definitely Rockwell, but judging just by the Pokemon, I gotta go D tier. I'm sorry. Um, Next up is the Macho Mudkips, headed by the lovely Chris. Alright. So I will admit I helped Chris out a bit with his draft. So there's some bias. But it's not like I could control his choices, and I wasn't leading him from the beginning. I just came up with some advice at some point. Let's take a peek. So we have Double Steel and Corviknight Kingambit. Those are very, very good steel types, especially ones that can't be intimidated. Whimsicott is your fairy, not the greatest. Walking Wake is your dragon, I like a lot. Double Grass in Whimsicott and Ogerpon. Yeah. Fire Arcanine, always a great pick. And Walking Wake also being part of this water crew. My issue with Walking Wake as a water type is that it does not resist ice. It is neutral. But the benefit to being dragon is you also aren't weak to grass or electric. You're only weak to fairy and dragon. So I don't... Is there an ice resist on this team? I think the only ice resist on the team is Arcanine and Kingambit. Yeah. Which isn't surprising. It's ice type, right? So let's quickly just get a shout on the Pokemon and their roles. Whimsicott, Tailwinder. Prankster Tailwind. Other things. Ogerpon can be offensive, can be a redirection Pokemon. Walking Wake, offense. Big offense, can also be a Snarl support, but mostly offense. Pawmot can be fast support. I would say offensive support. It's fast, it's frail, it gets Fake Out, it gets Nuzzle, it gets Revival Blessing. Like, Pawmot can do quite a bit, and Electric Fighting is an amazing type combination. If Iron Hands didn't get it, I think Pawmot would be getting a lot more usage just because of how good this typing is. Espathra, Speed Boost is broken. 105 speed, off the rip, and Lumina Crash. Like, this Pokemon is not to be messed with. it can combo with a lot of other things on this team, um, just by going fast and then making it so you do double damage because of uh, Lumina Crash. Like, it's acid spray on crack. That's what I have to say about Espathra. Arcanine is a Pokemon that I historically love. I drafted this all the time in singles draft leagues because it can do so much. It can be an offensive threat physically and specially. It can be a like supporter with Snarl and Will-O-Wisp, and more of a singles thing was Morning Sun. Um, if it even still gets that, Arcanine can do a lot. Just by virtue of having Intimidate, it can be a Flash Fire user if your team uh, really needs to not deal with fire damage, and then, Terra to be even grass type, so it is really not giving a crap. Um, but the other thing uh, is that it gets justified, which you might think, okay, cool. Whimsicott gets beat up. You can side beat up your Arcanine. Whimsicott cannot be redirected by Rage Powder. And now we're having a lot of fun with a +4 Arcanine. Poltegeist, another great setup Pokemon with Shell Smash, but as well a supportive role in Trick Room and Strength Sap. It gets a bunch of silly moves. You should definitely look into it. Corviknight for Tailwind as well, if you don't think Whimsicott's the right call, as well as being a setup. And Kingambit, I'm not the biggest fan of Kingambit in Draft League just because of its very, very limited amount of moves. It just doesn't have a lot of coverage, but you don't necessarily need that. This is a team that, doesn't want to look down, intimidate at first, and then you get to Corviknight and Kingambit, and it's like, okay, intimidate me. I don't care. Do I think this team went wrong anywhere? No. However, I think the immediate offense of this team is a little rough. Corviknight can't hit that hard at first. Neither can Poltegeist or Arcanine or Pawmot or Espathra. Walking Wake can. You do have Whimsicott for a manual Sunny Day, which would work out with Walking Wake. Or if you want to set up Rain to defend Kingambit, Corviknight, and boost Walking Wake's water abilities, sure. I don't know, something about this team doesn't scream, I'm scared of all the things you have to do. Dugtrio I don't think mentioned, but Arena Trap is just good. Locking something on the field with something that doesn't want to be on the field with its partner, always going to be good. Issue is that it doesn't really have something that wants to use Discharge next to it, which I know is a big part of Dugtrio in doubles, is just having something that can use Discharge next to it, while Dugtrio locks them on the field, and Dugtrio takes no damage. Pawmot can Discharge, but off of its measly special attack, okay. Good job, Pawmot. I think Macho Mudkips for me are another firm B. Yeah, I do think the synergies are there, but not as robust as some other teams. But yeah, I think the overall strength of this team is good. Just as good stuffs. It's a matter of not having a lot of those synergies. Let me grab a drink. Next team. The New York Ninetales, led by Mr. B, someone I'm not familiar with. Mr. B, Mr. B, Mr. B, Mr. B. Alright. Dragapult, Iron Boulder, Alola Ninetales, Articuno, Bisharp, Gothitelle, Kricketune, Ursaluna, Bloodmoon, Hariyama, Amoonguss. Okay. We have our fast stuff. We have our slow stuff. This team scares me. Especially with Alola Ninetales being able to set up Veil for something like Ursaluna Bloodmoon. Jeez. So let's look at our quick Korchak. I don't see a water type. I don't see a water type. I see Amoonguss as a grass type. I see Bisharp as a steel type. That's not a steel type. As much as it wants to be, that's not a steel type. That's a Pokemon that dies. It doesn't resist Fairy. Um, Sorry, Bisharp. Love you. You're not a real steel type. Um, Fairy and Alolan Ninetales, I guess. Dragapult, Dragon. Good. Um, there's a team that has its fast and its slow mode, and then kind of a middle mode, and it also has priority in Hariyama can priority, Bisharp can priority. I don't know what you're doing there. I guess you're just the one pointer. Um, you have priority. Technically, I think both of these can Ice Shard, but that's besides the point. Um, if this was Terrakion, hang on a sec. Because Mr. B, if you're listening to me, Iron Boulder. Yeah. Here's my tip for you, buddy. Change this to Terrakion. And then use the 2 points to buy yourself a 3-pointer. Like Alamomola. Or I don't know. Maybe 2 2-pointers. I don't know. The reason I say that is because Dragapult gets beat up, and Terrakion gets justified, which would be a great combination, and one that you very much have to respect. Back in Generation 8, when we had Dynamax, there was a very cool team which had, I believe it was coaching. Maybe it was coaching. I don't remember. But it was Terrakion Dragapult, and you really had to call, were they going to, if they led that, which Pokemon are they going to Dynamax? Because it was like coaching Terrakion, right? It might have been Scarf coaching Terrakion or something to boost up Dragapult, and then beat up Dragapult to boost up Terrakion, so you had to make a call. And that would be very cool here. I think Iron Boulder is not a great Pokemon. It is pretty fast and pretty strong, but I think Terrakion will work better here. Besides the point, I'm sorry for going off the rails on that one. I digress. I think this team has a lot of scary offense, but not a huge defensive backbone. And I mean, I think Alolan Ninetales can shore that up a bit. But a lot of teams aren't going to let you get away with just getting up Aurora Veil. Especially, like, there are teams that are just going to use a 110 plus speed Pokemon or a prankster Pokemon and just say, alright, weather's changed. No Veil for you, right? I definitely see the offense of this team. I think Gothitel's a great pick, especially locking you on the field with something like Ursaluna is terrifying. Where's the redirection? Yeah, Amoonguss is redirection. Problem with this team is if you want to get up your Trick Room, you only have one choice of Pokemon that can use Trick Room, and your redirection is not anywhere near guaranteed with Amoonguss or Fake Out because of Covert Cloak and because of safety goggles. So if this team did have a Follow Me user, I'd like it a lot more. But you're just not... You don't have a way to guarantee Trick Room, right? Again, I see the offense. I don't see the defense. I wish there was a little more cohesion. But the offenses of this one just terrify me too much to put it in D tier. I'm going to drop it in a solid C. By solid, I mean a decent C. Next is the Northern Noivern, headed by Liam Doxy. Undead Paradox. Alright. I think we all see the synergies of this one right off the bat, right? There's Abomasnow and Alolan Sandslash. There's Sneasler and Indeedee Female. So you have your unburden speed, you have your slush rush speed. Um, Hi Molly. Did you want to be part of the video, honey? Hi. Hi. I love you. Thank you. I know. You want attention. You might want to go outside. Not right now. Sorry, folks. We're, you're welcome, folks. Um, One of the lesser known things is Galarian Slowking. Does get access to, or signature move alongside Slowking is Chilly Reception. So you can lead Galarian Slowking and either fake a Trick Room or uh, and go for Chilly Reception and then switch into Alolan Sandslash to get it moving on the field. Um, or you can just click Trick Room. I do think this team has a very strong Trick Room presence. Enamorysterian is disgustingly strong. Crawdaunt is disgustingly strong. Abomasnow Trick Room being able to set up the screen and just throw out blizzards. Alolan Sandslash, you don't have to run Slush Rush, so you could just run it in Trick Room. And Magnezone can hit very hard as well. Gliscor as a Gliscor as a ground type to go for discharges next to Magnezone. Looks good. The fast mode of this team being Noivern, Sneasler, Gliscor to an extent, Chandelure to an extent, and Slush Rush, Alolan Sandslash. Pretty solid. Another team where I wish it had more immediate offense. I feel like it either needs to get up Trick Room to do its offense, or it needs to get up Trick Room. Sneasler just doesn't hit that hard. Noivern doesn't hit that hard. Gliscor definitely doesn't hit that hard. Chandelure can hit very hard. I like the team. You got your Steel, you got your Fairy, you got your Dragon. No, I don't like Noivern, sorry. I love it as a Pokemon, by the way. I love big giant speakerhead Noivern. I don't think it's very good. And then you have Water Crawdaunt and Grass in Abomasnow and Tropius, Fire in Chandelure. It's alright. Where would I rank this? It does have a lot of things you have to consider, and a lot of Pokemon that can do a good number of things in terms of like being offense or support. So I think I'm comfortable putting this one in the B tier as well. Big tier. But I'm critical. But no, I definitely understand this team. I don't know what it's missing, so to speak, but missing something in my eyes it is. Next is the rambunctious Reggies, headed by Cheese Boy. Alright. So, this is not updated, I don't believe. That or something didn't go through. Let me check Discord real quick. Transactions. Cheese Boy. Yeah, this Drifblim here should be an Infernape. And Fraligator and Mightyena have fused together to become Hisuian Samurott already. So, can I edit this page? I think so, but I think it'll break things because it's an array formula. Test. Yeah, broke everything. There's the array formula. Hi, Molly. So I'm not going to edit that. Just pretend that this little guy here is an Infernape. So let's see. We have no Steel type. No, I'm stupid. Heatran's a Steel type. Water type. 2 Grass types. And then we have our Fairy type. And our Dragon type. And our Steel type. Yeah, you have your cores. As I said in my prior video about this team, Before Ariados was taken, it did not have redirection, and I still don't consider Ariados real redirection because this Pokemon is bad. Um, However, I do think this team definitely has some strengths. Thwacky and Heatran make it so Earthquake can't just be spammed, right? Like, Heatran doesn't want to take Earthquake, and I mean, it still doesn't want to take Earthquake in terrain, but it can take it less so. Um, Zapdos, Torterra, and Rhyperior, bravo. Um, Great Disquake users. Um, Regidrago. Oh, Drifblim's not on the team anymore. Never mind. I was going to say you have very good Tailwind with the Unburden, but this is now an Infernape. So I think, yeah, the only Trick Room, or the only Fake Out was Thwacky. But now you have a much better Fake Out user in Infernape that can also do quite a few things offensively and in the support department. Hisuian Samurai hits really hard. Zapdos is a very, very reliable Pokemon that can do a lot of things, including set up Tailwind. Iron Valiant is just, who knows what this thing's going to do, right? Iron Valiant can do anything. This Pokemon has such an insane move pool. I can't even get into it right now. It can really do anything. I think it's one of the most unexplored Pokemon in VGC, but that's also because Fluttermane exists, right? Excuse me. Fergaraf down at the bottom here is definitely not going overlooked. Being able to just sit this thing on the field and say, you can't use priority into me, excuse me, jeez, is a nightmare. Very reliable Trick Room setter. I mean, Ariados isn't going to help it set up Trick Room. Only issue is I don't really see a ton of Trick Room sweepers here, right? Like, Rhyperior maybe, but it's going to have to do a lot with its turns. And now that this is Infernape, I don't think there's... Oh, no, there's Zapdos on the team. I do think this team can do a lot with Tailwind. Iron Valiant can set up. I think Hisuian Samurai can set up, but it can also just hit really hard. Regidrago, everyone knows what this thing can do. I think this team has really come together. At first, I was looking at it and I didn't really like it. But honestly, the change to Hisuian Samurott and Drifblim becoming Infernape, I dig it. I think this team's going to be a pain to fight against just because of how much damage it can write about, how many strong spread moves it has. Yeah, yesterday when I was looking at this team, I would have dropped it in a solid D. But the change of Glalie to Ariados, Mightyena and Fraligator to Hisuian Samurott and Drifblim to Infernape. Am I really doing this? This might be controversial. I think this is an A-tier team. I think John just has to pilot it really well and build really well each week. This is a pretty strong team. Has a lot of offensive threats. Could use a bit more defensive backbone, in my opinion. But a lot of these Pokemon can be built defensively. You know what I'm going to do, actually? A minus. Adarobalo. This is A minus. No, this is A, sorry. This is our A minus. Yeah. What are we doing here? I'm a professional. That's A. We'll make this A minus. I'm going to move this down to A minus. And let me take a look real quick. I think something else can move up to A minus. Give me just a sec. No, I think this is just. I don't think it makes the cut to A. I'm sorry, but I don't. I think it would be a disservice to go down to B. Let me just recolor everything, otherwise I will freak out. Next up is... Okay. Sorry, I'm doing this right away. Alec's team is terrifying. Alec. I don't know her. The Sassy Sylveons. This team's insane. This team's genuinely insane. You have one of the best redirectors in the game that is offensive as well. You have Thunderous, which can do so much stupid crap with Prankster, or physical set with Defiant, or setup with Nasty Plot. It also gets access to that stupid electric move that's... Oh, why did they make that move? It can set up Rain Dance for itself and then have perfectly accurate spread electric attack. Stupid. Toxicroak can benefit from the rain as well. I mean, there's no manual rain setter on this team, but Thunderous can do it, I'm pretty sure. I'm just going to make sure that I'm not speaking out my butt. Yeah, it can. This is also one of the strongest Trick Room teams, right? Porygon 2 is one of the best Trick Room setters. Having one of the best redirectors as well makes it very easy to get up Trick Room. And then having two very, very immediate Trick Room threats in Sylveon and Ursaluna, dangerous. Porygon 2 can carry games on its back just by picking the right Terra and walling out a team. Tyranitar can do a ton of things in terms of just supportive damage or huge damage or setting up with Dragon Dance, God forbid. Orthworm being able to send out, like, imagine Alec leads Orthworm Porygon 2, right? And you're not prepped with Taunt. And this thing goes for a Shed Tail into Ursaluna, and Porygon 2 goes for Trick Room, right? Like, good game. Suicune, Calm Mind setup, Tailwind support. I think it still gets Scald. Like, this Pokemon's good. All these Pokemon are pretty good. The only one I would say is not great is Cacturne, but even then, like, it can hit decently hard. It's a mixed attacker. It gets Sucker Punch, and it'll work well in Trick Room. Noctowl is there. If I had to say one thing about this team that I'm not super fond of, it's that it doesn't have a Dragon type. And Dragon types are really, really good. There's no Dragon type here, and your Fire type is locked to being a Grass type as well. I would say if Cacturne was something else, and I'm going to put in my 2 cents again because I'm just like that. Where was Cacturne? Cacturne was a 2. Yeah, you can't do much with that. I thought Appleton was way lower than it is. Where's Dipplin? Dipplin? Oh, Dipplin's a 6? Okay, never mind. Having a lack of a Dragon type could be very bad. And having a Grass type on your team that doesn't... Your main Grass type not resisting water and your main Fire type not resisting fire, not good. As good as Ogerpon Hearthflame is, in terms of having type balance on your team, it doesn't help. And Cacturne isn't defensive enough to ever handle that. That said, Sassy Sylveon's S. Good job, Alec. You've earned my S seal of approval. Big team here. One that I am not looking forward to facing. Stoneham Superiors headed by Daddy Sama. Never going to say that again. This is a team that knows what it's doing. This team has an identity. It knows what it wants to do, and it's gonna do it. There's 3 Fire types. There's 3 Grass types. 1 with Photosynthesis, 2 with Chlorophyll. a Ninetales that sets the sun, a Charizard that abuses the sun, and a Hisuian Typhlosion that also abuses the sun. Great Tusk that abuses the sun. Uh, this team knows what it is. That said, that's not necessarily a good thing. This is another one of those teams where you're going to play it, and you're going to run a Safety Goggles Pokemon, a Pokemon that can make the sun go away, a Pokemon that can cut Hisuian Typhlosion off with priority. Um, there's a lot here that's just in your face of, this is what I am, this is what I'm going to do, and I can't do much more than that. I think that's a problem in Draft League. You know, if I saw this in a VGC tournament, I mean, you can't see this many things. It's strong. It's very strong. But it's easy to prep into. That said, I do think Dragonite is a great pick for this team, especially going to want to sit next to Great Tusk. Able to pick off things with, Terra Normal Extreme Speeds. Braviary makes it so that your opponent's not going to want to bring Intimidate so easily. And Snorlax, one of those Pokemon that can just set up and win all by itself. Not as much as it used to be able to back in Gen 7, but nonetheless still able to do it. No Water type. I mean, it's a Sun team, so I'm not surprised. But having no Steel type and no Fairy type, that's not going to cut it. I think this team leaned too heavily into its single archetype, and it's not going to be able to get out of that, and people are going to be able to build around it. Shockingly, I'm putting this in a D tier. Again, solely because of how easy it's going to be to prep into. I'm looking at this team, and I already have my plan to beat it. I do think certain Pokemon on here will possibly make that harder. Maybe I'd give this a you know what? It's hard for me to give it a D. I think it deserves a C because Great Tusk, Dragonite, Brute Bonnet are all Pokemon that can hit hard and support really, really well. So it was hard for me to give that a D. I do think it deserves a C just on sheer threat level alone. Alright, 5 more. Next is the Island Dragons, headed by Hawk the Wanderer, the one who picked after me. Another person I don't know. So Hawk, would love to get to meet you. Thunderous, or Tornadus, Electabuzz, Palafin. Alright, so we have a Rain team now. We have Pelipper, setting Rain. We have Palafin abusing Rain. Tornadus, able to also set Rain. Bit redundant. Paldean Tauros, Blaze. Okay. Shiftry, or Beartic, which gets Swift Swim, hilariously. 2 grass types, which don't want to deal with fire, although they're frail enough that it's not really going to help them. 2 fake out users. 1 very, very good follow me user for this team. A Pokemon that can abuse going up in Tailwind, and a Pokemon that can make it so that Intimidate or Snarl is not super good into this team. No Steel type, no Fairy type, no Dragon type. So this team was made in Gen 1, apparently. It has a Fire type, it has Grass types and Water types. But not having that Fantasy Core, that's odd to me. I do think this team's not going to be super easy to beat. I mean, not necessarily hard to beat, but it can hit very hard. But unfortunately, Hawk, I'm going to have to go D tier for this one. I think, similar to the Superiors, you went for one thing and one thing only. But the thing you're going for is not strong enough. I don't think what you built has things that are abusing this enough. You know, there's no electric type that can hit thunders. Um, Electabuzz. Um, you don't have. I mean, you have one of the genies that can hit bleak winds. That's pretty good. Um, but overall, I'm not loving it. Would have loved to see a strong Swift Swimmer on here. Palafin has Jet Punch. Like, I'm not sure. This one's not doing it for me. Prove me wrong. Um, Ivan. Ivan is someone else I helped during their draft phase, and yeah, I think their team came together quite a bit. This was a team that at first I did not understand while it was being drafted. And to be fair, I'm still not sold on a lot of its concepts, but I do think Ting-Lu and Gouging Fire on their own are going to prove very difficult for teams to break, right? Ting-Lu making special defenses weaker while Gouging Fire hits the field with its enormous stats, and being able to howl up Ting-Lu and Gouging Fire or set up Dragon Dance or what have you, like, these Pokemon together are scary. Klefki with screens on top of that, scary. Not being able to fake them out because there's a Sarita on the field, very scary. Um, Tinkaton, a Pokemon that can fake out even for Farigiraf. I'm not super sold on Tinkaton. I think it's also a problem. There's 3 fairy types here, which isn't a problem. But having steel and fairy on both of your, well, actually, yeah, neither of your 2 steel types resist steel, and one of your water types doesn't resist steel. Your steel resists are Gouging Fire and Paldean Tauros and Thundurus, and okay, that's a good amount. But I just think it's weird when one of your very important type interactions does not come to be. Like, these fairies don't resist fighting. Primarina does. And these 2 do. You have Tailwind with Scyther. You have Follow Me with Electivire. You have Intimidate on Tauros, which can also hit pretty hard. You got Screens, and Trick Room. It's a decent team. I think this team's pretty good in my opinion. I think there was room for better, but Gouging Fire can do a lot of heavy lifting with this team. This team, if we're speaking in a team that's built around Gouging Fire, this team nailed it. I think this team actually kind of nailed it. I'm not just saying that because I helped out. In fact, looking at it, the help I gave didn't really revolve around Gouging Fire very much. Gouging Fire is going to be able to do a lot for this team. I might be worried that it might lean on that too much. But Gouging Fire is a very, very strong Pokemon. What's the logo? Oh, the one I'm looking at. I'm gonna give it an A-. I do wish there was a bit of a better fake out. Tinkaton to me just doesn't. Not a big Tinkaton fan. Yeah, so I think that's a good spot. This is a pretty strong team. We're almost at an hour. All right. Next is the Toronto Toads, headed by AJ. All right, AJ, what do you got for me? All right. So we have a very good Follow Me user, a Cresselia. Great. Oh my god. A Conkeldurr, which is a very good Trick Room abuser. Roaring Moon's an okay. It's a good Pokemon. It can set Tailwind, which is very good for this team. Is there anything that gets beat up on this team? Oh, that's a very good pick. Ambipom gets beat up, and it's faster than Cobalion, which gets justified. It also can beat up Glamora if you want, and get up 2 layers of Toxic Spikes, and then stall out with Cresselia. Wow. At first, when I first looked at this team, I was like, all right. But wow. I do wish it had a little more immediate offense. I've said that about a bunch of teams. But overall, I think this can really work. You know, set up Roaring Moon, set up Cobalion with Ambipom, or if you want to run the Iron Defense set. Moltres I'm not too keen on. Um, I like this. Lapras can do a lot of silly things. I like this. Dragon, Fairy, Steel. Steel type that doesn't resist Fairy. Looking at you. And then we have Water, Grass, Fire. Grass type that does not resist Fire unless you Terra. And Water type that does not resist... Or Water type... Sorry, wow. Grass type that doesn't resist Grass and Water type that doesn't resist Fire are not what you want to see. Those are big shortcomings there. Just in terms of defenses, but offensively, this team's strong. A-team. This is an A-team. I didn't understand it until I just really took a look at it. Good stuff, AJ. Good stuff. I will say, if you had a good Fairy resist, team would be a lot better, especially one that might be leaning a lot on Roaring Moon. But I think Lamora can get you through that a bit. And, you know, you have Terra at your disposal. And I know Terra Poison Conkeldurr can always show up and hit you with a Sheer Force Poison jab, because it doesn't get boosted by Iron Fist. Penultimately, we have Oxygen Ronald with the Waltham Watchhogs. Yeah. Why isn't Tatsugiri on this team? I don't get it. I don't understand Tatsugiri not being on this team. I just simply don't. As much as I understand Dozo being a Pokemon that you see Dondozo Tatsugiri, and you can easily counter it with Haze and and anything that can beat it. It's not ideal, but the fact that you force your opponent to build a team that has Dozo checks is strong enough at Team Preview, in my opinion, that not taking Tatsugiri really limits you to where people are now like, okay, he has a Dondozo, whatever. Glastrier, I already spoke about as a Pokemon in my last video. I don't think it's very good. As well, your Trick Room setter is Screamtail, I believe. Which is a hard Pokemon to remove, but and then you don't have a lot of Trick Room abusers. And then you don't have, like, Latios is solid, Magmar's a great redirector, Landorus is one of the strongest Pokemon ever, and in Draft it has so many options. Frostmoth can set up, Screamtail can set screens, Meowscarada can hit like a truck and intimidate it doesn't care about. Pex can be stally, but you don't have a ton of great stall options. Toxpex plus Screamtail allows you to potentially use like Whirlpool for locking, or Infestation even. And then Perish Song with two very bulky Pokemon, so I dig that. But this team just doesn't do it for me. I'm not seeing it. Your Steel type is a Probopass, which is one of the worst Pokemon ever. Your Fairy type just can't do damage. Your Dragon type is very good. I like Latios. Your Grass type, Meowscarada. Toxapex, Water type. Dondozo, Water type. Magmar, Fire type. It's alright. I'm not a big fan. I don't have a lot to say about this one. But I don't see it being very strong. I just don't. And lastly, we have Lumisha and Muhammad's team, the Worcester Woosox. Iron Bundle, Weavile, Latias, Galarian Zapdos. You're welcome for Latias, by the way. Galarian Zapdos, Hisuian Arcanine, Golden Go, Toedscool. Ooh, and then we have Brionne, Crocalor, Gastrodon, Squawkabilly, Hatterene. Okay. So I said Hatterene last, so let's take a look at the Trick Room prowess. Goldingo could be a Trick Roomer. Um, this is the wrong stats for Squawkabilly. What is it pointing at? 150, 100, 115. What Pokemon stats are those? What? 150, 100. That's Dondozo. That's Dondozo. That's Dondozo. Um, anyways, sorry. Yeah, it's even drawing Dondozo's typing. Mods, fix this guy. Um, offensively, Galarian Zapdos very strong, Hisuian Arcanine very strong. Sorry, I got distracted. I was talking about Trick Room. I don't see a lot of Trick Room options on this team. Gastrodon's not a Trick Room abuser. Goldengo is like halfway there. Brionne is not strong enough to be one. Neither is Crocalor, and they don't get... well, this still gets Hyper Voice, but it's not a Fairy type. Crocalor doesn't get Torch Song. It does get Unaware, so it can do that. Toadschool's kind of cool for it. I mean, it's not like going slow helps it because of Mycelium Might. But yeah, Gastrodon with Hisuian Arcanine definitely works for dealing with water types that want to prey on Hisuian Arcanine. And Galarian Zapdos works very well to circumnavigate, or... I don't like using that word. That didn't work. Circumnavigate doesn't work. I'm looking for a different word. Circumvent intimidates that want to go into Arcanine. Latias is a great Tailwind option. Weavile a great Fake Out option. Iron Bundle I spoke about in the last video. I don't think it can do a lot of specific things, but it can be there as a great support, and, you know, it's pretty unparalleled in speed, barring, I believe, Regieleki and Dragapult that were drafted, but with Booster Energy, doesn't care. So it's going to be able to slow people down very, very easily. But for this team, like, again, I don't understand the Hatterene pick. I don't understand the Hatterene pick. Not only that, but your Fairy type does not resist Dark. There is no... Your Dark resist on this team is Weavile and Galarian Zapdos, which are Pokemon that don't really have resistances just due to the nature of their stats. If we took the back half of this draft and helped improve the first half of this draft, you would be cooking. These are some terrifying picks. Weavile hits hard, can support well with Fake Out. Latias is a great setup option. Galarian Zapdos, Toadschool's not great redirection. Like I spoke about, it's Toadschool. Latias is a great setup option. Galarian Zapdos, I feel like can't set up very easily, but has a great offensive typing. Hisuian Arcanine was one of the winningest Pokemon in this gen. I really like this part of the draft, and I think the issue is your building is going to rely heavily on these first six. And outside of that, you don't have many options. These should have definitely been consolidated to less stronger picks than more weak picks. So that's my take. Because of the first half being so strong, I could not put it in D tier in good faith. But because the back half is just so weak, like, if we look at this split into two teams, right? Like, this is the worst team in the draft. This is one of the best teams in the draft, you know? But half a team isn't going to get you the wins. So that's my final draft. Without me, let's pretend I'm not here anymore. I'm not here. Go. Can I get rid of you? You stupid. Whatever. Anyways, this is the final draft. Unranked within tiers. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not here to hurt feelings. I am here to just give my opinion. I will always say that if I put you low, please prove me wrong. I want to see you succeed. I want to see you kick ass with what you did. But yeah, glad to be here. Approaching an hour and 10 minutes, and I'll see you next time.